Dear students, today our topic is acquired and inherited traits. Before discussing acquired and inherited traits, let us first know what are traits. Traits are characters, or we can say traits are characteristics of an organism which are transferred from parents to offsprings, and how these characters are transferred. They are transferred through genes. Now, traits are of two types. First is acquired trait and second is inherited trait. What's acquired trait? A trait or characteristic of an organism which is not inherited but develops in response to an environment. Or we can say acquired traits are the traits obtained during lifetime. This means these traits they are not inherited by through genes. These traits develop an organism during lifetime, or we can say in response to environment. These traits they cannot be passed to next generation, and these acquired traits they don't change DNA. For example, if a beetle is an insect, if it does not get sufficient food for a considerable time, what will happen? If beetle it is an insect, if it will not get sufficient food for a considerable time, its weight will be reduced due to starvation. But that trait, the low weight of this beetle, is an acquired trait of the beetle and it cannot pass to next generation. This trait beetle develops due to environment which contains insufficient food. Second, suppose the tail of the mouse get cut. Tail of the mouse gets cut. The cut tail of the mouse, that is an inherited trait and that cannot pass to next generation because it has been brought up by some agent in the environment. The acquired traits that cannot be passed to the next generation. For example, if we breed some mice which have cut tails, for example, if we cut the tails of these first filial generation, and we will get mice with full tails, because cut tails of mice are not inherited but they are acquired due to environment change. It has been observed that even during cutting off tails of mice, this trait doesn't get inherited over generation or number of generations. A tailless of mouse is never born. Why? Because cut tail of mouse is not inherited, it is an acquired trait. Or we can say when the weight of beetle is reduced too much during starvation, then though there is a change in normal body cells of the beetle, but no change takes place in the genes present in its reproductive cells. And since there is no change in the genes of gametes, this acquired trait of low weight of beetle cannot be inherited by its offsprings. So, if some generation of beetle which are low in weight, if some generation which are low in weight because of availability of less food, then there is no chances of low weight beetles in their next generation, because when these beetles will get sufficient food they will become healthy again. Thus we can say trait of low body weight will disappear. These are acquired traits. Thus you can remember acquired traits are those traits which are obtained by an organism during lifetime, and these traits they cannot be passed down to next generation, and during in case of acquired traits DNA does not change. Now inherited traits. What are inherited traits? Inherited trait or characteristic of an organism, it is caused by change in its DNA, or we can say in gene. Inherited traits, they are passed from parents to offsprings because they have produced change in DNA of an organism. Suppose there is a population of rat beetles. Suppose there is a population of rat beetles. और एक एग्जाम्पल लेंगे हम. Suppose there is a population of rat beetles in the green bushes. Again, suppose that a color variation arises during reproduction so that there is one beetle which is green in color. If there is population of rat beetles in green bushes, and suppose due to variation during which arises during reproduction, there is one beetle which is green in color, instead of red. This change of green color in beetle has been brought about by change in the genes, or we can say due to change in DNA of the reproductive cells. The green color of the beetle is inherited trait which can be passed out to next generation. This means inherited traits can be passed to next generation. The change from red beetle to green beetle can be considered an example of evolution because it helps in survival. It helps in survival by mixing with green bushes. That's all about acquired and inherited traits. Thank you.